Imagine stepping out for a quiet morning coffee, only to be ambushed in your own driveway by two fake cops claiming to be HOA enforcement. Tactical gear, fake badges, and threats to arrest you. Most people would panic. But not me, because I am the law. What these wannabe vigilantes didn't know was that they just tried to arrest an undercover FBI agent. Their fake operation, blown wide open in seconds. As one tried to run, I took him down. The other froze in fear, hidden in their SUV. Weapons, stolen identities, and surveillance gear. This wasn't some neighborhood power play. These guys were criminals running a deeper operation, and I had been watching them for weeks. They weren't hunting a rule breaker. They were hunting me. And they walked straight into the trap. This isn't your average HOA horror story, it's a real-life sting gone sideways. You won't believe what we uncovered next. The sun had barely risen above the rooftops of Cypress Lane when I heard the knock. 3 sharp raps. I glanced at the clock. 6:04 a.m., too early for packages. Too late for emergencies. My instincts stirred. I sipped my black coffee and stepped to the door, cautiously peeking through the blinds. A matte black SUV idled in my driveway. No license plates. Two men stood at the door, wearing what looked like tactical vests. But the patches were odd. Something about them screamed amateur cosplay meets power trip. The shorter one had mirrored sunglasses, despite the morning fog. Mr. Lewis, the taller one, barked as I opened the door slightly. Where were the HOA Enforcement Division? You've violated multiple residential codes. Step outside. Now, HOA Enforcement Division. That's not real. I've lived here 6 months. The HOA barely sends emails, let alone dispatches a police unit. I wasn't aware the HOA had its own SWAT team. I said, calm but alert. No jokes, sir, the short one snapped. This is a serious matter. My training kicked in. I studied their body language. Aggressive, jittery, rehearsed. They weren't real cops. But they were committed to the role. Too committed. You'll need to come with us now. The tall one reached for his belt. No standard issue. No taser, no gun. Just a cheap holster, with what looked like a prop baton. Something was very wrong. I stepped out slowly, keeping my hands visible, eyes scanning. Across the street, Mrs. Wilkins' curtains fluttered. She always watched the street during her morning tea. You got ID? I asked, motioning toward the vest. The shorter one flipped out a laminate card. Crooked, and obviously homemade. The logo was a poorly edited clip-art shield, with HOA enforcement printed in Comic Sans. These guys were either idiots or something far more dangerous. Turn around, the tall one ordered. Hands behind your back. I chuckled. Couldn't help it. You really think this is going to work? They stiffened. Then, I pulled it from my back pocket. I flashed the badge. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Shiny, official, very real. Their expressions collapsed like wet cardboard. I took a step forward. You two better start talking. Fast. Suddenly, the tall one lunged. But I was faster. He hit the porch with a heavy thud as I drove him down with a trained takedown maneuver. The short one bolted toward the SUV. I drew my sidearm and aimed. Even think about it, I called. Get on the ground. But he kept running. I fired one shot non-lethal into the grass near his feet. He stopped, hands up, trembling. Seconds later, I heard sirens. I'd already tapped the emergency code into my phone when they first knocked. Backup was inbound. What began as a strange HOA encounter had just turned into a federal-level confrontation. And this was only the beginning. The flashing red and blue lights lit up Cypress Lane like a crime scene on primetime TV. My neighbors peeked through windows. Murmurs spreading like wildfire. What's going on? Is someone dead? Did someone finally call out the HOA? I stood at the edge of my driveway, the taller fake cop zip-tied and groaning on the ground. The shorter one sat against the SUV, hands on his knees. Still trembling from the near miss, with a federal-issued sidearm. Agent Walker pulled up in a black sedan and strode toward me. She was direct, sharp, and had been my point of contact since I transferred to this assignment, an undercover surveillance op in suburban Georgia. No one outside the bureau knew who I was here, until now. You good? She asked. Yeah. They blew their cover, not mine, I said, motioning to the men. They posed as HOA police. Tried to make an arrest. She frowned. There is no HOA enforcement team. I know. That's what makes this interesting. We searched their SUV. What we found killed the last lingering doubt. A duffel bag with 6 burner phones, 4 sets of license plates, a flash drive labeled Cypress Residence, Tier 1, and disturbingly, A scoped rifle broken, down under the back seat. This wasn't cosplay. This wasn't a prank. This was a targeted operation. We ran their fingerprints. Nothing. No records in the system. That either meant they were ghosts or someone very powerful had scrubbed them clean. Maybe cartel. Walker offered. Possibly, I said, staring at the flash drive, or someone else. Someone with a list. Back at HQ, we cracked the flash drive open. It contained a dossier. Photos of residents, movements, schedules, kids' bus routes, Amazon delivery times. Most of it was seemingly random except one profile had been flagged in red. Mine, real name, fake identity. Assignment. Someone had blown my cover. Your file's in here, Walker said grimly. And not from our database. This is third-party surveillance. You've been watched. I sat back in the chair, the buzz of fluorescent lights humming above me. A wave of paranoia rolled in. I've been in deep ops before: cartels, terrorist networks, even 2 months undercover in a biker gang, but this felt personal. Cypress Lane wasn't a target zone. It was the operation. And somehow, I'd been caught in the crosshairs. That night, I walked the neighborhood. Every door, every porch light, every car parked a little too far from the curb. It all felt different now. I spotted the old man 2 houses down, Mr. Voss, retired engineer, waved every morning. But I remembered something he'd said my second week here. You know, you can tell a lot about someone by the trash they don't put out. It felt cryptic back then. But now, it felt like code. At 2:37 a.m., I woke to a sound. Not loud, just wrong. Movement outside. A shadow passed near my backyard camera. I checked the monitor. Someone was out there. Not the police. Not the HOA. Someone else. I grabbed my gun, switched to night vision, and headed for the door. If someone wanted to play house with the FBI, they were about to find out this house was a trap. The moment I stepped outside, the stillness of the night shattered. No wind, no crickets. Just tension in the air, thick and unnatural. A single motion-activated light flickered above my garage, then died. I moved silently, gun drawn, every step rehearsed from 100 other ops. But this wasn't a cartel compound or a foreign war zone. This was my backyard. But my boots crunched softly on the gravel as I rounded the side gate. My night vision showed a heat signature behind the oak tree. Kneeling. Watching. I aimed, center mass. FBI. Hands up, I said calmly. The figure froze. Then, slowly, they stood and turned. She was maybe in her early 30s. Civilian, clothes, no visible weapon. But she wasn't surprised. No panic, no fear. She knew exactly what she was doing. I'm not here to hurt you, she said. I'm here to warn you. I kept the gun raised. You're trespassing. Start explaining. She hesitated, then pulled something from her pocket, an encrypted flash chip. She tossed it underhand. I caught it. That's from inside the network, she said. You've got maybe 48 hours before the rest show up. What network? I demanded. They don't call themselves anything anymore, she said. They used to go by Civitas. Private intelligence. Broke off from the government years ago. They embed in neighborhoods, HOAs, civilian boards, even schools. All under the radar. I narrowed my eyes. I'd heard whispers. Rumors passed. Between agents. A black budget operation that supposedly went rogue. But Civitas was just a ghost story. A myth to scare rookies. You expect me to believe a rogue spy cell is embedded in my cul-de-sac? I asked. No, she said. I expect you to decrypt that drive and see for yourself. Then she turned and walked, off, vanishing into the darkness like smoke. I went back inside, bolted the doors, and fired up my off-grid laptop. The flash chip was encrypted with an algorithm I hadn't seen since my cyber intel training. This wasn't amateur work. It was military grade. 2 hours later, I had enough of the data unlocked to feel the chill in my bones. There were blueprints of my house. Conversations I'd had inside my garage. My undercover cover story wasn't just compromised. It had been peeled apart like layers of an onion. Names, contacts, meeting locations. Everything. And then, I saw the most chilling file name. Next phase, activation 48H. The activation wasn't about me. It was about the neighborhood. I didn't sleep by sunrise. I had a map of the neighborhood open, pinning every known resident and cross-referencing faces from the decrypted flash drive. To the average person, Cypress Lane was postcard-perfect suburbia. But I could now see it for what it really was, a fully compromised zone. Out of 28 houses, At least 7 showed signs of embedded surveillance or resident profiling. 4 had individuals tied to obscure shell companies. 2 had heat signature irregularities in their basements. 1 house number 14 was completely blacked out on public databases. No tax records, no utilities, no official resident name. Impossibly unless someone wanted it that way. At 9:30 a.m., Agent Walker returned, this time with a mobile decryption unit and 2 specialists from Quantico's deep cover intel division. They worked in silence, grim expressions matching mine as I filled them in. They knew everything about my alias, my contacts, even my past ops. I said, Civitas isn't just watching, they're predicting. We reviewed the remaining files. 1 folder was labeled Behavioral Conditioning, Cypress Pilot. It outlined community events, neighborhood, watch rotations, and even landscaping suggestions, all designed to influence behavior, routine, and compliance. It's social engineering, Walker whispered. They're reshaping the way people think, in real time. And the worst part, no one knew. The HOA just a front. A puppet board. Elected members were either compromised or fake altogether. That enforcement division wasn't created for rule breaking, it was designed for removal. Suddenly, the failed arrest attempt on me made sense. They'd discovered I wasn't just a nosy neighbor. I was the threat. That afternoon, I returned to my cover job at the local property development firm keeping up appearances. My phone buzzed with an encrypted alert from HQ. Unidentified communication uplink triggered. Cypress Zone 7A, bolted Zone 7A, was a section of greenbelt between the neighborhood and the utility station, supposedly unused. But as I reached the site, I spotted a small structure camouflaged as a service shed. Inside, I found it, a portable uplink station, still warm, the kind used in rapid deployment surveillance. A live data feed was running. Screen after screen showed internal neighborhood security cams angles that weren't supposed to exist. Living rooms, bedrooms, children's play areas. They were watching everyone. Then I heard the click. I turned. A man stood there, dressed like a county inspector. But his posture was all wrong. Hand hovering near his hip. No clipboard. No tools. You're early, he said. We didn't expect you until activation. Who's we? I asked. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Doesn't matter now. I moved to draw, but he lunged first. We collided, crashing into the wall of monitors. Sparks flew. The uplink cables tore loose. He swung wildly. I ducked, grabbed a rusted pipe, and slammed it against his shoulder. He dropped, groaning. I cuffed him to the railing and sent a live ping to Walker's team. The man began to laugh, blood on his lip, eyes wild. You can't stop it, he whispered. It's already started. Back at my house, I found something waiting for me. Taped to the door, a single envelope, no markings, no return address. Inside a photo, a grainy still shot of my sister and her kids. Taken just 2 hours earlier, at a park 3 states away. I felt the weight of the message. They weren't just targeting me anymore. They were warning me, back off, or your family pays the price. That night, I made the call. It was time to blow the op wide open. No more secrecy. No more silent games. Civitas wanted to run the neighborhood. They were about to meet the full force of federal exposure, and I was going to make sure every last one of them was dragged into the light. The call I placed that night activated Protocol Embelita, covert FBI directive designed for one purpose: exposure and neutralization of internal threats operating under U.S. jurisdiction. It was the nuclear option. Once launched, there was no going back. By dawn, the sky above Cypress Lane buzzed with unmarked drones. Satellite surveillance pivoted into position. Civilians still walked dogs and watered lawns, oblivious to the storm gathering overhead. But I wasn't interested in watching anymore. I was done playing defense. This was going to end at 7:42 a.m. I met Agent Walker at the temporary command van, parked 2 blocks outside the perimeter. They've activated emergency come silence, she said. We can't trace uplinks anymore. They know what's coming, I replied. We move now, before they vanish. The sweep team rolled in under the cover of a fake gas leak evacuation. Hazmat suits, emergency trucks, blocked intersections. Civitas wouldn't be able to run, not without revealing themselves. House number 14 was first. Walker and I led the breach. The interior was unlike anything I'd seen in an American suburb. Walls lined with servers, satellite uplinks disguised as HVAC equipment, biometric scanners installed in the basement stairwell. No furniture, no food, no signs of normal life. This wasn't a home. It was a command node inside. We found 3 operatives, one already burning hard drives, the other 2 armed and ready. A quick but violent firefight broke out. No agents were hit. One operative escaped through an underground tunnel that connected directly to house number 17. They'd built a literal underground network. The scope was far worse than we'd imagined. We secured hard drives, thermal maps, and one of the agents, alive. He refused to speak, but the intel didn't lie. Civitas had embedded nodes in 9 other neighborhoods across 3 states, each using HOAs, local committees, or school boards as front-facing cover. Cyprus wasn't the only operation. It was the prototype, but the clock was still ticking. According to the original data, Phase 2 activation was set to go live within 12 hours. We had a choice: pull out, regroup, and risk Civitas scattering, or press the assault now. I chose the latter. 8:14 a.m., agents raided house number 8. Inside, we found surveillance files tagged behavioral instigation, footage of residents being subtly provoked into arguments, conflicts, or breakdowns. Civitas wasn't just watching, they were experimenting, seeing what happened when people were emotionally pushed past the brink. 9:02 a.m. The drone overflight spotted an unlisted shed behind house number 22. Inside, a communications relay box directly linked to foreign intel servers. China, Russia, even. A third route bouncing off servers in the middle. Civitas wasn't just rogue, they were outsourcing American citizen data to the highest bidder. 10:21 a.m. A flash drive uncovered in a crawlspace had a recording my voice, captured inside my home during a phone call with my sister. "I'm done," I'd said. They crossed a line. They weren't just watching. They were listening to every word, every breath. My hands shook as I crushed the drive beneath my boot. By 11 a.m., we had secured 17 operatives and gathered enough evidence to classify Civitas as a hostile domestic threat network. The FBI prepared an official statement to the Department of Justice and the President's Security Advisory Committee. But just before we wrapped, a bomb went off. Not in the neighborhood, but in the media. Civitas, in a last-ditch attempt to disappear, released fabricated leaks to social media, claiming that the FBI was unlawfully spying on American citizens through fake HOA raids. They twisted the truth before we could speak. Suddenly, we were the ones under public fire. They'd sacrificed their network to discredit us, but they underestimated me. By 3 p.m., I uploaded raw, unedited footage, body cam, drone surveillance, digital files, all encrypted and timestamped. Proof of the operation. Proof of the truth. It went viral within an hour. The narrative flipped. News stations scrambled. Whistleblowers came forward. Former Civitas assets, burned by their handlers, confirmed everything. And just like that, the ghosts had faces. It's been 3 months. Civitas is officially dismantled on paper. But I know better. People like that don't just disappear. They scatter, regroup, rebrand. I moved out of Cypress Lane the same week the operation ended. My house was razed. The neighborhood was turned into a monitored site. No new residents. No news stories. I still carry my badge. But I also carry something else now. A reminder. A simple line scratched into the back of my field notes. It's not always the wolves that hunt you. Sometimes it's the sheep wearing badges. And if they ever come back, I'll be waiting.